Welcome back to the debate. But today, we're not just asking whether Us by Chao Planoy is a love story or a toxic one. We're asking something more uncomfortable. Why do so many of us want it to be a love story, even when it clearly isn't? Because this isn't just about Rook and Pam anymore. This is about the way we, as readers, romanticize behavior we would never tolerate in real life. So the question today isn't just soulmates or toxic obsession. It's this: are we mistaking emotional intensity for love? One side argues that this is a story of fated love, two people forced apart by repression, finding their way back to each other against all odds. The other side, my side, argues something much harsher. This is not a love story. It's a well-written justification for obsession. And what makes it dangerous is that it feels like love. Let's start at the foundation, the letters. This is often used as proof that Rook and Pam are soulmates, that their connection was intellectual, emotional, even spiritual before anything else. But let's strip away the romance for a second. Rook built that connection through deception. Not misunderstanding, not miscommunication. Deception. She created a version of a person that didn't exist, and Pam fell in love with that version. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. A lot of people still want to call that fate. But it's not fate. It's projection. Pam didn't fall in love with Rook. She fell in love with an idea that Rook constructed. And we romanticize that because we like the idea of being understood, even if that understanding is built on something false. Now, let's talk about the bear suit, because this is where the story stops being ambiguous. Rook follows Pam, watches her, structures her life around proximity to her. And yes, you can frame that as longing, as devotion. But here's the question the story doesn't ask directly. If this were happening to you, would you feel loved or watched? Because Pam herself says it's uncomfortable. She asks for it to stop. And Rook continues anyway. That's not love. That's choosing your desire over someone else's boundaries. And the uncomfortable truth? A lot of people still find that romantic, because obsession looks like devotion when you ignore the impact. Let's talk about the people they hurt. Theme, Key, Kawi. These aren't side characters. They're evidence. Rook admits she treats Theme like a trash can. Pam treats Key like a pet, a tissue. And here's the part people avoid. This isn't just messy love. This is emotional exploitation. But because the central relationship feels intense, because it feels special, people excuse it. And that says more about us than it does about the characters. Because we've been trained to believe if a love feels powerful enough, the damage it causes becomes secondary. Let's be very clear about something. Pam controls what Rook wears, who she talks to, how she behaves. Rook says, "I'm afraid to do something wrong around you." That is not passion. That is fear. And if you change nothing about this dynamic, except make one of them male, most people would immediately call it abusive. So the real question is, why does it feel different here? And the answer is uncomfortable. Because we want it to be different. Because we want to believe this kind of intensity means something deeper, even when it looks exactly like control. The story ends with our world, and it's framed as something beautiful, a space where they can exist freely. But let's call it what it actually is: isolation. not chosen freely, but necessary because their relationship cannot function without removing everything else. That's not a sanctuary. That's containment. The jealousy doesn't disappear. The control doesn't disappear. They just remove anything that could trigger it. And we call that a happy ending. So is this a love story or a toxic obsession? Here's the answer. It's both, but not in the way people think. It feels like love, because obsession is often written to feel like love. And that's exactly why it works. Because if this story didn't feel romantic, nobody would defend it. So the real danger isn't the relationship itself. It's how easily we justify it. This isn't just about us. It's about how we define love, what we excuse, what we romanticize, and what we're willing to overlook as long as something feels intense enough. So I'll leave you with this. If it feels like love, but it isolates you, controls you, and hurts the people around you, is it still love? Or just something we've learned to call it? Until next time, don't just read the story. Interrogate it.